Time for part 3 on the Swap Meet XLT. Alright, it's Friday night. You probably a few days ago watched the part 2 video where I took the skid apart. Well, it's Friday now. You can tell it's not the same night because this is a different red Polaris shirt and I have a haircut. Go back and check if you don't believe me. But I got a box in, so let's take a look at this box. I don't normally do unboxing, but this is sled parts. And of course I know what's in here because I ordered it. It's parts to keep this going. So, what do we got? We have a nice brand new XLT throttle cable because the one that came off the sled, well, it was poking into my fingers with stray strands. I got a few speedometer keys, and then here we get to the good stuff. These are the parts I was waiting for to work on the skid, the shocks. So I got it as far as I could last night, and then I wanted to get some shocks in. So this is a short shock. So this is the gas front ski shock. And I don't know, where's the old one? Buried. So let's see. Ooh, she's a little shorter. What the hell? I ordered the right shock for this skid. We're probably going to use it anyways, but that doesn't make me real happy. It was definitely the shock I ordered. All right, let's check the rear one then. Hope the length is right on this one. Well, it's long. Let's see. Oh boy. I don't know how I feel about this. Oh. Look at how frickin' tall that body is. There is absolutely no way that shock has enough travel. If you go back and look on Lonnie's, we explored this issue on Lonnie's, and we decided the shock didn't have enough travel. I don't see how this can have enough travel. I'm gonna have to make some calls and try to figure out what's going on. Maybe I'll put it in quick and give it a quick test, but look at how long the body is. That is not enough travel. All right, well, let me sort through this mess and I'll get back to you. All right, I did a little internet digging, a little pondering, and a little comparison. So let me show you what these shocks are. We'll start at the rear track shock. This is the shock we tried to use on Lonnie's. You can see it's about 3/8 longer than this shock. This is the one I just got today. Well, that 3/8 would have got us there. We would have probably used this shock on Lonnie's. This is a good old Kimpex Gold. It's junk. This is the junk that came out of the skid. And then this is a Fox that came out of a similar skid. And I started checking some things on the internet. So it's supposed to be 15 inches long with 5.5 inches of travel. Right? So if we start measuring the exposed shaft, that's 4.5. No dice. That one's 4 3/4. I might try that. Obviously, this one's 5 1/4. This one's way more. This one's like 6. And then the Fox, if you start here at the edge and go down, well, the Fox was less than 4 3/4, and it came out of a similar skid. So based on that and based on the overall length being correct at 15, I'm going to give this one a try in the rear track position. What do I got to lose? Up here on the front track shocks, we're looking at those. We're looking at everything. They're supposed to be 10 1/4 open and 7 1/8 closed. So this one, center to center, is 10 inches dead on. So that's not horrible. And the travel, though, is like 2.5, 2 5/8. That's a little light when it should be 3 1/8. The one that came out of this skid is 10.5, and I'm eyeballing the travel, but it looks like a plausible 3 1/8. And then this Fox that came out of a similar skid is full on 11 inches long, but it looks like the travel is, again, the 3 1/8 travel. So the overall length affects basically your ski pressure, right? And your limiter straps are supposedly going to stop the overall length instead of stopping on the shock. So I don't know. Based on the fact that I can compress this one down, I've got this bolt through here and this height. This is actually the shortest one. I'm going to put it in and I'm going to see how I like it. If indeed it's basically on the limiters at full extension, I'm not going to worry that it's a little bit shorter than the rest. So I know that's a little bit of a lengthy explanation there, but bottom line is I'm going to give these shocks a try, and if I don't like them, you'll be the first to know. All right, so since I got the decision made, I have ran these adjusters up for, I don't know, I just arbitrarily picked another 3/8 of an inch of preload. Why? I don't know. So now I've got this little small motorsport style spring compressor set up, and I'll show you how I change my springs. So I did spread it wider because it didn't fit some of the shocks that I was using, but she's pretty easy to use. Another thing I bought to go with the spring compressor is this absurdly long 12 millimeter socket. Let's see, is that a 12? Yes, it is. So I'll put links to both of those in the description. The main advantage of this is that it's the right size. So that's it. You just got to pull your spring down a little bit. I think most people probably knew that. All right. Same spring, right back on the new shock. Okay. All right. Yeah, it's close. Need a little love with the hammer. There we go. Got the spring beat into the thing, into the little spring retainer, and this shock needs to get the sleeve slipped over it, but it's ready to go on the sled. Hey, let's see how this feels while we're up here. Oh, what do you know? Complete garbage. Boy, I'm glad I bought a new shock. There's no way that this is worse than the absolute garbage that just came off that sled. So one thing I did off camera, it's a little annoying when you spend $100 on a shock absorber and you've got to press the plastic bushing and the sleeve out of the old shock. But I just did that off camera. So I'm going to get started putting this thing together. One thing I noticed, I don't know if you can see that silver stripe in that bolt, that's anti-seize. That's probably why it went so good to take this apart. The last guy cared enough to anti-seize everything. Well, I'm going to anti-seize stuff too, because next time it comes apart, It's probably going to be me. All right, all good. We are firmly on the limiter straps. So any misgivings I had about that shock potentially being a bit on the short side, well, they were not well founded. That shock is indeed the right length, and this front shock's going to work perfect. I don't see any problems running this rear shock. So I'm just going to keep going on this skid. I got to put a bunch of wheels. I got to get the shafts. I'm going to clean the bores, and then I'm going to grease everything. Then I'm going to grease all the grease zerks, what few there are on this particular skid. And then we're going to call the skid done. Well, back axle. I guess that counts as putting wheels on. So anyways, it's moving right along. I'm pretty happy with this thing. Okay, well, got all the wheels on. That went awesome. Everything is, of course, anti-seized up. Now, this front shaft came out hard because the grease in there was just hardened. So, let's start with that. Let's get this old grease out. A little bit of that. A little homemade giant bore snake. Soak that thing down with some brake cleaner. Feed her through. All right. You're lined up right, and could have been worse. All right, looking pretty good. I'm going to move on and do the rear one. Then I'm going to start greasing things, and I'll have it back together before you know it. All right, skid's together, and this skid was actually a pleasure to work on. Usually they're a god-awful battle with hammers and punches to drive out shafts, maybe going to the press, maybe getting out the grinder to cut off some bolts or something, and pry bars. No, not this time. Everything came apart. In fact, the worst problem I found was a rounded off nut right here, and it actually came off. So that's great. So I've got the whole skid back together. I'm happy with these shocks. Everything's greased. Every grease zerk took grease. When's the last time you had that happen? I don't know. It's not very often for me. So my point is the skid's done, and it was great to keep it moving. I ordered the shocks on Wednesday. Today is Friday. They're here. They're done. Okay, that's a little bit of luck and a little bit of knowing the right place to order stuff so you'll get it fast. But I'm happy with that. Another thing that kept it moving was this kind of cheesy puller. You know, $27 little spring compressor, I guess is what I should call it. And this crazy long socket. And don't forget having parts on hand. You know, it's good to have parts. So anyways, this all went really good, and it went really fast, and I'm super happy because tomorrow morning we're going to drag that parts sled off the trailer, and we're going to find out if that reverse chain case is any good. And if it is, it's going into this XLT. All right, I'm going to wrap up the video here. The stuff I mentioned about the reverse chain case, I guess that'll happen in part 4. This video is just starting to get a little long. So, I want to say huge thanks to the patrons for their support of the channel. Check out their names. Thank you guys. And, I'm going to go in and have a pizza funded by the patrons. Appreciated. And for everybody else, if you're wondering how to support the channel, well, start by subscribing. I mean, that's the basics, and it's free, and there's no obligation. Just do it. And then give the video a thumbs up and leave a comment. I guess hitting that notification bell helps somehow. I don't know. It'll just let you know that, hey, Nutter released a new video. That's about all it does as far as I know. But all those things help out the channel, and we really appreciate it. So with that said, we'll see you on the trails.